She was always an organic person. And these people disappear with the knowledge. That's why we have an education program. And I'm writing a letter now to Helen Clark, because when she says that this nation has to be, you know, sustainable and then carbon neutral in 2020, I'm convinced she doesn't even know what she's talking about. Because I know what it means to just get a bit closer to sustainability. We haven't even got the knowledge. We haven't got the institutions. We have to actually learn these skills. So that's a challenge. But we are here and we are spread out and it looks good.
Go back to the egg.
Yes, to the egg. I want to finish this off. There's an example here of the permaculture egg where you actually grow your chooks in an environment where the food comes from trees, from plants and so on. You grow the feed for the chicken like we do on our farm. We have about 100 chooks, free-ranging through our orchard, integrated pest management. By the way, we haven't got programs here, but we have guided tours on our farm. Our website, please. Have a look. We have programs, we have courses, we have workshops. We are teaching the whole summer exactly these skills. How to look after yourself, how to feed yourself well, how to look after your family, how to reduce your ecological footprint. The eco-footprint is enormous of us here, unnecessary, because in New Zealand you could have a very low one. We are so fortunate here. But look here, we have very little big industry here. Well, we have a bit of recycling guttering here, and an oil barrel. This will be available very soon, very cheap, I think, because they can't fill them up anymore. And that's the good news with the oil peak. Here we have a solution for climate change. We won't be able to burn so much oil anymore, so the CO2 emission will come down. But do we like it? Are we prepared? Can we cope? No. And that's where I would like to work on it.
Just go back to urban permaculture and growing food in cities.
Yes, we have lots of examples at Rainbow Valley Farm. Practically all containers can be used to grow wonderful food. The balconies I teach in cities in Europe, people are growing the most beautiful veggies and even grapes up on balconies. They have mushrooms growing in their cellars or in their courtyards, wherever it is suitable. They have logs there inoculated, and over the year they get quite a few kilograms of mushrooms. Good examples everywhere throughout the world. And I did a study with the United Nations in the year 1999. The book is out. The food efficiency or food production in cities. Nairobi is leading. 65% of all the food for Nairobi is grown in Nairobi. And Singapore is very high. I still remember some. And some European cities are high. It's amazing. New Zealand, Australia, bad news. United States. These are the worst countries. But it doesn't have to be. The knowledge is here and we can do it. And it's amazing, on concrete you can grow wonderful things. We have potato towers on our farm, just 5 tires cut open, sitting there on concrete or anywhere. You can grow heaps of potatoes in those tires. Yes, you can do it. And the most amazing example of urban permaculture I saw in Lima. I was invited by a poor person in Lima. He said, I'm living up in those slums. I don't know if you have seen pictures of slums in South America. It's always up on the hills. Normally the rich people live up the hill, but in this case it's the poor. And I got invited, and I thought, oh, you poor bastard, inviting me for dinner. Oh, what am I going to take? Food. So I went to the supermarket, bought a lot of food for this poor family. I was an ignorant European, you know. And then, and I said, how do I find you? What number do you have in your house? He said, what? You must be nuts. We have no street, we have no numbers, nothing. And you can't go in there because you're a bloody gringo. They will slit your throat immediately. I thought, gee, what am I going in here for? And then we met down in the beginning of the slum, and he said, come and have dinner with my family. And I came with a parcel from the supermarket because I couldn't take a bottle of wine because they never drink wine there. They never touch a bottle of wine in their life. So I came with the food, and then we walked up through, you know, the slums there, and the kids playing in excrements coming down in the river, you know, and urine everywhere, and dead rats, and and a stinking environment. Up we walked, and he proudly arrived at his house. He said, "This is my home here. Welcome, you're my guest." And here I was with my parcel, so I walked up to the slum built out of cardboard and corrugated iron and, you know, just rubbish. And he said, "Let's sit down and eat quickly." And I had this parcel of food. Then I looked at the table, and the table was just laden with food. And I saw the guinea pigs there, because they eat guinea pigs. They're beautifully roasted there, and vegetables and all sorts of things. And I said, "God, where did he get this food? And you don't have to buy it for me, you know. I mean, he said, "What? For you? This is our food. My family is eating it. You invited. It's our food." I said, "Yeah, but you shouldn't have gone through the expense just for me." You know, that's how I felt. And he looked at me, he said, "What? This is all our food." I said, "Well, what our food? You can't grow any food." He said, "What? All grown here." I said, "Where?" And he said, "Come." A courtyard this big, like here. I walked in there. He never heard of permaculture, but this was the prime example of a wonderful permaculture system. Courtyard with all sorts of containers, up on the walls and on the shed with cages with guinea pigs in there, rabbits in there, pigeon in there. He had some chickens sitting over 200-liter oil drums, and they pulled right through their cage down. At the bottom, they had tilapia in there, because there was fish too on the table. You know, tilapia is the pig in the water. It's a wonderful fish, tastes very good all over the world, and easy to keep. So it can actually eat excrements, and beautiful fish. So, and then they explained to me all the excrements of the living creatures went to the plants. And they had amazing food there. You see, that's the poor people can show us something. We forgot already this. I was fortunate. I had to learn all these skills, because after the Second World War, Austria was completely destroyed. And the peasant farmers had to feed all the bombed out victims from the cities. The cities were all flattened. So they all came out there with their jewelry. They wanted to buy a bit of bread and spuds, and, you know. And they had this amazing Persian carpets rolled over the, and they said, "Well, we want to change 5 loaves of bread," and you get the Persian carpet. And my foster father said, "Bugger off, we don't need a carpet." And then he said, "Just take your bloody jewels," and he sometimes used to just wipe them off the table. He said, "Eat it." At that time I didn't understand what he meant, but now I know what it means. And that's so important that we start with this transition movement, or whatever you call it, or self-sufficiency ideas, because you never know. Times will be different in a very short time. And we are not well prepared. I talked to Rodney District Council, Civil Defence. They're actually very badly prepared for catastrophes that were predicted by the scientists before, the weather extremes and so on. How are we going to cope? We have one power line coming up here, falls over quite often. People haven't even got water in Maracana, because when the pump doesn't go, nothing happens. They can't cook, nothing. Yeah, we have to design much more resilient communities. And we can do it, because I've done it for a long time in the Third World. I lived a long time in Africa, and went through catastrophes. You have no idea. In 1976, 280,000 people died around me. I was right in the middle of it.